Yes, going now.
Welcome, everyone, to Love Rewired. This is masterclass tonight. Really, one that has us connect. What do we have in our patterns in our lives? How they were wired, and what's the choices now? Right, particularly for high successful women who are managing during the day and then transitioning into relationships at night. And this is going to be an opportunity to see where you can have a new experience with yourself and break the pattern. But before we do that, what I'd like to do is just connect. Everyone is coming from different places. I would like to just arrive together. So if people can come off their phones and get onto their cameras, wherever you are, if it's safe to close your eyes, and I will walk us through 3 deep breaths. We're going to take inhale for 4 seconds, we will hold for 6, and exhale for 7. All right. So on the count of 3, we're going to inhale it for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Hold for 6. Exhale for 7. Inhale 4 seconds. Hold for 6. Exhale for 7. Inhale for 4. Hold for 6. Exhale for 7. Welcome to this moment. Right? Just be with yourself. What do you notice? What do you notice when you slow down enough to take a breath for yourself? So thank you for being here, because you could have been anywhere, and you chose to be here tonight. So I'm going to start with a question. Are you willing to spend another year breaking your own heart? In the chat, yes or no? You tell me. Are you willing to break your own heart for another year? And what does that mean? Like, oh, I'm in a relationship. Hear me. We break our hearts in relationships when we overgive. There's a self abandonment. When I don't express my need, there is a loss of our own agency, right? So breaking our own heart is in relationship as well as leaving a relationship. So absolutely no. I love the hearing that. And it's good to see some people from other classes. So thinking of the feeling wheel here, I'd love to work with this. It's one word in the chat that describes how you currently feel about your love life, whether you're in a relationship or not. One word in the chat. What would be that word? Anybody in the chat? Any feeling do you have about your love life right now?
Only one?
Yeah, we'll start with one in the chat. Does anybody have any feelings about it? Non-existent, optimistic, okay, scared. Hmm. Oh, I'm sorry, Brandy, sacred. Okay. I like that. Oh, scared. You did mean that. Hesitant. I appreciate that. Particularly, well, the word hesitant is a great one. Rejected. Okay. Right. Some hurt there. Confused. Right. Explore that. Definitely hesitant. Happy. Yes, Hal. I really appreciate that, Hal. Right. I would say I'm optimistic in mine right now. And that's a good place to be. But I can really identify with the word hesitant, rejected, confused. Yeah, that's what we want to talk about tonight. So what's going on that we're having that experience? So one of the things that is coming out, and I'm not sure if people are aware of it, we have some new trends occurring in our country. And I'm going to share a few of them really quickly. We're seeing more success for women in the workplace, meaning they're earning more money, they're getting promoted, maybe not at the rate we'd all like to see, but they are. But as they grow in success, the quality of their relationship is actually weakening, which is fascinating. So we'll talk about that. Two, a new trend is we're seeing more and more women above the age of 50 divorce because they're not willing to spend the rest of their lives compromising and breaking their heart and settling because they recognize they're not having their needs met or they're not feeling seen, heard, protected, or safe. So they have income now and they can actually make new choices. So we call that gray divorce. So that's what we're going to really be talking about, not the great divorce, but what is happening with women who are getting successful, but yet are not seeing that translate into their intimate life, right? I call it the sovereign woman. Keep this in mind. It's a Forbes study. You will get this PowerPoint in replay. I would have you go look at it and go like, what is happening? We're also seeing a trend in the younger generations where women are also choosing not to date because they're more successful and men are not accelerating quite as much with the clarity of their direction, their career achievement. And that's without taking the economic issues that are going on right now. I just want you to be aware of what's happening and what we're noticing, right? So what happens if I put myself first? Right? We wonder, like, why do I keep choosing people who are not here for me or people pleasing? I have a lot of clients who say, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And we hear this in social media and we hear this in sessions, right? I want to be seen, heard, and appreciated. But if I think that I have to perform, I have to earn, I have to have an achievement to get love, then we're not putting ourselves first. We're not. We're choosing something that we have to do to earn it, right? So if I put myself first, what would happen? What would happen in my marriage? What would happen in my relationships? Will I even find a person who will accept that? Right? Because this pattern, problem, if you want to call it, is the patterns that we're going to explore tonight. And so I'm going to ask everyone, and Hal, if you could put up a poll right now for everybody to take a look at. It's our first question. It's on the screen right now. Which pattern shows up most in your relationship? I stay silent to keep the peace. I overfunction and resent it. I attract emotionally unavailable partners. I fear being too much if I speak up. I don't know what I actually need in love, right? These are patterns. These are not faults. Hear me, and we will talk about them. And patterns get created generationally through society, right? So right now, I attract emotionally unavailable partners is the most popular. Just going to end the poll right here, let you see the results. Yeah. Like what's going on that this is happening to us, right? So I don't say it's a problem, but I do think one of the paradoxes is that we are wired for connection. We've heard this. We are not meant to live alone. The flip side is we're also wired for protection. And sometimes they're working against each other. Now, we love our protective side. Our protective side comes out when they think there's a threat. And how do I relate? We learn how to relate from our parents, from society, from things that happened to us in childhood. And often we're taught ways that end up abandoning ourselves so that we can secure that connection. But the minute I people please, as an example, the minute I overgive to get that connection, my protective side's going to come up and have resentment about it because it knows it just was in harm's way. This is our dilemma. We're going to continue to do, right? Often hear women play small. They are, accepting breadcrumbs or pandering, right? Or they struggle to own their wants and needs or to ask for something. I want to say this, not just our conditioning and what we learn from society and our parents, we're also wired for this. I'm not going to get into this a lot, but I want you to know, though, the wiring that happens in your brain is actually real. It's right here in the amygdala. which is in your brain stem, right? It is the place that when it senses anxiety, threat, um, nervousness, even excitement, it starts to get activated, right? People will say, oh, my body's getting hot. Oh, I'm feeling really intense. I'm shaking. All those things are happening unconsciously, right? The moment you feel rejection and you get dysregulated, you want to yell, you're crying, this is your body's way. It's reading a threat in your nervous system. The automatic happens in our nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system gets activated, kind of like a red alarm. I want you to know this is no fault. You're not doing anything wrong. And people are like, you're so sensitive. No, I'm wired. We're all wired. We're wired to scan all the time for danger, right? So we've been told lies about relationships. If you find the one, that's all you need is get the right person, or love should be easy. It should just flow, right? Your partner should know what you're thinking. That just right, like somehow that is it. And if we think we haven't done it right, well, my relationship's not flowing, then we're going to be in judgment. What is going on that I haven't gotten it right? And it keeps us in a danger loop because we're judging ourselves. That signals to the body there's danger. She's judging herself. That creates stress response in our bodies. Right? So what are we going to do about this? Right? Because the lies will never create intimacy, right? Find the one. It's not going to create intimacy. You should know. Aren't you a mind reader? It's not going to create intimacy. There's other elements that will create intimacy, but not mind reading, right? Because most of these lies will keep us coming back for more, coming back for more. You've heard terms like breadcrumbing. Well, I get a little, right? I get a little, I get a lot of what I want, not all I what I want. Right? We start to measure out what we're experiencing. So we stay. Because if I try harder and they're able to give it to me, maybe they'll give me more. We see that, and that feels like self-abandonment. You may feel very resentful to the partner. You may be really upset with yourself. Like, why do I stay? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I stay on the hamster? Can anyone relate to this so far? Is like anything I say and going like, well, I've seen that before, Claudine. I definitely have. If you want to put it in the chat, right? Like, yeah, there. Yes, thank you, Brandy. Yeah, been there. I have definitely been there. I have this thing I call is like I have high tolerance. I can tolerate the breadcrumbs for a long time, even though I always say, damn it, this time I'm going for the bakery. And that is my North Star. So that I feel satiated within myself and in the relationship. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, definitely. Breadcrumbs, especially breadcrumbs. I appreciate everyone's answers. Yeah, I've been there repeatedly. Exactly. So, what happens if there's a method that actually allows you to become the person you're seeking? We often fantasize like, I want them to be the knight in shining armor. Oh, I want them to be so attuned to me. When I really work with some of my clients, they're not in tune to themselves. There is wounds, there's energy from their past, their self-worth is getting in their way of actually embodying who they want to be. So then we don't attract that in somebody else. We attract our equivalent, the emotionally unavailable person sometimes, or the person who says you're too much because they don't want to give, because they haven't been given to, right? Or we don't express ourselves. So there's a model that can actually help us express ourselves in a way that we can be heard and to enhance our sense of safety in our body. That's a big piece. We see this all over social media. Part of what we're talking about wired for protection is if I'm criticized, if I get breadcrumbs, if I'm told I'm too much, that's a threat to my nervous system. I no longer feel safe in the relationship. I no longer feel safe in my own body. I don't feel secure that you're going to show up as my partner. But I'm also not sure I'm going to keep showing up for myself, right? And to trust without losing your power. I think that's what this is also about. Like, I don't want to lose me to be in relationship with you. Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about, that model tonight. So this is really an opportunity to not find the one, but get wired so you're the one. And I have a question. Anyone wants to come off screen or write it in the chat, you can just raise your hand. Hal will have you come in. What is one rule, or I'll just use the word rule or idea, that you've internalized about love? What is something you've internalized about love? Anyone want to come off screen? Again, raise your hand. I'm here to work with you. Right? Anytime tonight, if you would like that, just know that you're welcome to do that. But right. So, yeah. And a lot of people are off screen. I really want to encourage people to be on screen. Brian and Andy, I don't know how to pronounce one of your names, Kathy, all right, Sean T. I had to tell you, one of the things that I learned about love was I had to earn it. I had to be a perfectionist. I had to be a good enough. I had to do in order to be loved. And that's a lie. But it's a lie that society promotes, right? We have been wired as women to be people pleasers. We get acknowledged. You're so attuned. You're such a great caregiver. Yeah, but what's the cost to me? Right? So again, we get told, you're like Mother Earth. You just know everybody's needs. It's a lie. If anyone wants to put any other lie that they've heard or rule they've heard or internalized about love, what I notice most after doing this for 31 years is that most of us feel that we have to earn some part of this. I'm not sure where my PowerPoint just went. That's very interesting. Okay. Hi again, back. So what does it mean to do the work? I just want to just say, right, we do know that people who choose to do some conscious work do see results, right? Either through coaching, psychotherapy, people do report that there is an increase in either the communication, emotional experience, or the other side effect is when I'm experiencing more confidence in myself, it shows up in my relationship. So there is an asset to doing the work privately or in a couplehood. This is what I'll tell you. By the end of our masterclass tonight, you will understand your attachment style, which drives your patterns, right? Understand how your nervous system is shaping love and safety, and learn about my model, the best model. Oh, sorry about that. So, are you ready? What is your willingness to shake up your patterns and build conscious connection? I'm going to ask Hal to put up poll number 2 and see what it is for you. Hal, I keep losing my PowerPoint when you do that, so I'm not sure what's happening there. It's just very interesting. So there is the second poll on the screen right now. How many are willing to stop repeating old patterns? 100% ready? Okay, I appreciate some of you are just curious. Like, no, see about this, Claudine. I see what you have to say tonight. Well, this is a personal thing. It's not for me. Because we've got to be an all in. Our survival patterns are older than you sometimes, right? I come from a family generationally where we had to earn love. We had to be really good at what we were doing in order to get the praise. So it just didn't happen for me. I inherited from my mother, who inherited from her grandmother, and who, right? Like, this goes back. So recognize we get to say what we're ready to commit to. That's important. So the promise I make you for tonight is I'll show you how to rewrite a nervous system. You will have an opportunity to break a pattern in this class this evening. That's my promise to you. Okay, so let me tell you who I am. Claudine Chiarmonte. I am a psychotherapist and coach. I have been a psychotherapist for 32 years. I am a retreat center owner, and we facilitate, I'm a co-owner, and we facilitate retreats here all the time, because I do think in a personal way, that is really what we get to do. I'm going to share these pictures with you, right? And I share them, and people tend to have this experience of like, oh my God, I can't believe that's what you used to look like. This, when I see these, and Hal has done this class with me before, I get pained because that is my pain, right? I see what I hid in all those years. My highest weight, I was 380 pounds. But it's not about the weight. It's what I did to avoid pain, to numb out, because the people pleasing and the perfectionism wore me down. And I needed the protection, honestly, of skin to cover me. Right now, I'm 175 pounds, maybe a little lighter right this moment. But again, not about the weight, it's about safety. I became safe here so that I can be in relationships. I also learned what security and consistency meant so that I can show up in a loving relationship in a way that served myself and my partner. Let me just say this. I introduce myself often as a recovering perfectionist. But when I am under stress, when any of us are under stress, we do go back to a default setting, such as, guess what? I end up people pleasing. I end up trying to control things because that's what these things are for. Perfectionism is if I can control my environment, then I can control how I'll receive love from you. If I'm a perfectionist, I'm controlling, right, all the aspects so that I can maybe get something from the environment that I'm seeking. Neither of them are satisfying long term. And I'm assuming some people here can actually relate to that. I have been doing this, like I said, a long time, right? And I'm sharing this because I am trying to help you maybe look at something in months that it took me decades to untangle. I've been on the journey for a very long time, but it took me a long time to take that weight off because I wasn't ready yet. I didn't understand that I didn't have safety alive in me. I kept farming it out to my parents. Then I farmed it out to my partners. And guess what? Chose emotionally unavailable partners that were also weren't safe for themselves. So they weren't going to create it for me. And it's not their job. It's our job to create it together, but not individually. These are some of the people I've worked with over 30 years. There is a shift in heartbreak and readiness to love again. There are people who have felt like they have found their aligned partner after going through the processes. Right? Many of them talk about feeling emotionally more stable and safe within themselves after working, things like, increasing self-esteem, or people breaking patterns, such as, having standards, having boundaries, stopping the people pleasing without guilt. Yeah. So Brandy writes, that's what I am pouring into myself, physically, mentally, emotionally, as well as spiritually, so I can align with my person. Yeah, it starts here. It doesn't start out there. So just keep thinking about it. Like, okay, right? But right, a lot of people I work with will say, but I don't have the time for this, Claudine. Like I had a client recently, so I don't have the time to do my feelings work. Whoa, okay. Where do we think it's going to go? If we push it down, it's going to come up. It's going to come up in an ache and pain. It's going to come out in an outburst, right? But you are already spending a lot of time surviving love. If we're in protection mode, that means we're in survival mode. We're not in our thriving mode. A lot of people tell me, I've tried this before. I have clients who come to therapy and like, I don't know why I'm here. I've done this before. Yeah, right. Healing is not a straight line. It's circular, right? We've heard this before. I'm going to still get triggered. My goal is that it's going to be a shorter fuse, a shorter time being activated. Doesn't mean I'm not going to. I use a metaphor often, like my parents broke my arm. I say to my partner, listen, my arm, it's extra sensitive. Could you not touch it? That's what they do. They say things, do things, hit it, they knock into it, right? My job is to continue to work on the wound, the trauma, so that when they hit it, my reactivity, maybe not to hit them in the face, start to express myself, right? That's the change, because over time, everybody's going to hit this arm, not just my partners, my friends, my family, colleagues. Mm. So I've tried it before. This is not a one and done, our work on ourselves. I'm not built for love. I hear that often. That is trauma, completely in defending ourselves. That is the protection mode to say, I can't do it. I can't do vulnerability anymore, right? I don't have the money. We hear that very often. Right? And we spend our money in other ways, in terms of time, energy. It occupies us. I talk to a lot of people who are like, I'm constantly obsessing over this. That's time and money. Depends on how you want to do this. Right? Jade is a executive coach. When I met her, I would tell you from trauma, very much stuck in having to earn love because there was a lot of uncertainty in her childhood, very shut down, very confrontive, loved her conflicts. But what happened is that she doesn't pick an emotionally available partner, right? He's not there. He's so not there. Always arguing just to get gaslit, to say what, right? Like, wait a second. What was what she was expressing was correct. How she was doing it was not in getting the response that she really wanted to. So after we worked together, she recognized she needed to set boundaries. Her overgiving was her choice pattern. We had to work on that trauma. I had to give her new tools. One of them is, how do I say no without guilt? Not easy for a woman in our society, by the way. Not easy. We also had to work on her self-worth because there was a part of her that actually thought she deserved the quality of care her husband was providing. Right? Until she shifted that, she couldn't demand something in him. Right. And then he got called forth too. He needed to do some work because the stronger she got, she wasn't going to settle for crumbs any longer. Right. They are now in a more, I would say, an attuned relationship where there's a back and forth. It's reciprocal. There is an attending to each other's needs. Her need to fight and be in conflict. She doesn't have to earn love anymore. She gets to relax. Definitely gets to relax. So why is this the best time to take action? It's your decision. But I'm going to say, we're not getting younger. I know I'm not getting any younger. Right? This is really why I chose to do the work. I didn't want to keep having the same experience in my love life. I was married once, didn't want to repeat that pattern. I didn't want to repeat the pattern of heartbreak, the nights crying in bed while my partner was right there with me. I didn't want to have the nights of feeling like we're never going to repair. Is anybody ever going to come back and talk again? I want to change that. Right? This work is based on attachment, the survival strategies, the conditioning to break the pattern so that you can feel safe in your body, in your heart, and spiritually. Right? I said this earlier. Why do we repeat patterns? Gosh, because they're familiar to us. We know them all. Anybody who wants to come again and talk about their pattern, raise your hand. Hal will bring you in. More than happy to have an evening where you get some process time because we all have that. There's no judgment here. We started them when we were children. When we got wounded, got disappointed, we learned ways to adapt, ways to deal with the pain or the disappointment, learned ways to get love. That's what we're talking about. No one is broken here, but it is an opportunity for us to rewire early childhood experiences so that you can have a new experience now. So I just want to check out your commitment. Everybody I'm in, like they want to learn more, they want to learn about the model, right? Because again, I'm going to go back to your brain. Your brain is going to go, it's not that bad. Right? The commitment is we're priming the brain to say, yes, I'm in. I want to shift this. It gets to be a commitment because our conditioning, right? I'm 58. I have that many years of conditioning. So it's really easy. I'm glad to see people say I'm in. It's really easy to go to our defaults. That's not a shaming. It is what it is, right? So this is the model I work with. It's really about the transition from lonely to beloved, right? This idea that you're inherently worthy. You're inherently a beloved for yourself. And when I believe in the value of me, Very different indicator when I go out looking. Right? Think about a magnet that knows how powerful they are. They're going to attract somebody who is going to represent and mirror themselves. So that's part of it, right? And it's always remembering that part that we get to reclaim that, not outsource our value to other people. It does not need to be earned. Repress to express. This is that part where the truth is here. How many of us are really asking for things? How many of us are really making requests, owning our needs, sharing our feelings, the hurts, the disappointments, the joys and the appreciations? This is not all the negative. We've got to feed a relationship. And one of the ways that we do that is authentically, without shrinking, without editing, without worrying that will be too much, that we're too sensitive. Anxious to secure, it could actually be avoidant to secure, by the way. This is really talking about the attachment styles, where that part of us, wants to learn how to regulate, wants to learn how to be present to ourselves. This is where the attachments parts come in, right? Because there's an ideal that somehow if I get to secure love, it's going to be perfect. It's a continuum, right? So secure love is that I can move through conflict and we can come back to each other. I can move through expressing my needs without fear. We can repair after rupture. After an argument, a conflict doesn't break us. It brings us back to deeper intimacy. Trigger to trusting, and that is that part where, right, that I recognize that fear is alive in me. It's going to get triggered, and I have the tools to rebuild the trust between us in this relationship. I'm curious, what word for you feels least accessible right now? Hal, I would ask you if you could put that in. I think you are Yolanda, right? Your attachment. So this is what feels least accessible to you right now. Feeling like the beloved, like you're worthy, expressing your truth without fear, feeling secure and emotionally safe in your relationship, trusting others and yourself. Okay. Yeah. All the above. Okay. So we got a little of everything right now. Yeah, a little of everything. Thank you. I really appreciate seeing that. Then we recognize each of us has an area that's like, a little bit more tender than another area. Yeah. Right. And we probably have it in all of them. So I appreciate the person who put all the above because that does start happening. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go into some of the exercises because that's one of my promises tonight. You would have an opportunity to experience something, a change in a pattern. So just going to have you all sit where you are right now. If you're driving, don't do this. Just want you to relax. You can close your eyes. You don't need to pay attention to anything, right? All of us are often moving through our days, feeling our stressors, maybe feeling loneliness or disconnection from the past. I want to guide you in a moment to a place where you don't have to earn love, you don't have to fix yourself or anyone else. Just want to be a part that wants to be held. So close your eyes. If you can, put one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Just notice your breathing for a moment. You don't need to change anything. Just let yourself be here. I want you to bring to mind a younger version of yourself. 5, maybe 8 or 12 years old. An age where you remember feeling tender, maybe left out, not fitting in, unseen. Picture yourself standing right in front of this younger version, face to face. You can see her face or his face. Really look at this beautiful face. Look at posture, the eyes. Is there a smile? No smile? Is the head down? Is the head up? Shoulders slouched. Shoulders back. Now gently imagine placing your hands on this younger child's shoulders. I want you to look in their eyes. And you could say this out loud in your house right now or silently. You are my beloved. I will never leave you again. Look into your little child's eyes. You are my beloved. I will never leave you again. Breathe. Let this land and let it ripple through you. Notice what's softening in your body. What's resisting? Just meet yourself there. You are my beloved. I will never leave you again. You take one more breath. And tell this child, younger self, you belong with me. Yeah. Anybody want to share what may have just shifted when you met another part of yourself? You actually allowed yourself to be called a beloved. You just made a promise to yourself. Anybody want to come off camera and talk about it? Come on camera, I'm sorry. Talk about that? You get some free counseling or coaching right now. This part, this younger self, is a part of our work. It's a part of owning who we are now is by going and attending to that younger self. The part that was rejected, conditionalized to make a promise. Because you spent some time talking to a younger part of yourself, I really want to encourage this. Go talk to that part again and again. If you can tonight, go get a little picture of yourself when you're younger, put it out. Maybe even let that younger self go to pick something out at the store. I love this Rumi quote because it's really about what we just did. To find the beloved, you must become the beloved. But that's not how Hallmark movies have it. That's not how Netflix has it. There's a script to rom-coms. That is always outside us. What happens if I start to become loving towards me? I'm going to tell you, your picker changes. Your picker changes. I'm going to do another activity. Oh, I'm sorry. Brandy was sharing emotions started to flare up. Brandy, if you like to come and talk about that, Hope. I felt my younger self feeling safe. Ooh, I love that. Right. Often it's because you saw her. How many of us are craving to be seen as a woman, as the man that we are today? If we're not experiencing this because we weren't seen and acknowledged in our younger self. I know I came from a family, very Mideastern. We were seen but not heard. And when I say seen, all they were doing was head count. They were not seeing us. So there's that craving in me. I need to take care of that so I don't continue that. Thank you, Hope. And Yolanda. Yeah. I told myself I'm always with you and you are safe. That's a great affirmation. I would hope that you would use that frequently. Let's work with E, repressed to suppressed. I'm sorry, repressed to expressed. Going to be same thing here for a moment. But I want you to, if you have a journal, if not, use the chat as your journal. I want you to think about something you have not dared to say out loud in your relationship. Something that you want to say, but you don't. Just think about it. Even if you're not in a relationship right now, remember, we're in relationships all the time with our family, our colleagues, and our friends, if we're in a romantic relationship or not. So this is not our patterns of overgiving, people pleasing, rejecting ourselves show up everywhere, by the way, not just in our romantic relationships. They're more intense there, though. So think about it. Is there something you want to say? If you can, and you want to say it, right? We could stand up and put our hands on our solar plex, which is right below our belly button and our chest, right? Speak the sentence out loud. None of us are going to hear you. I want you to have an opportunity to say the very thing that you've been holding back. You don't have to worry about censoring it. You don't have to worry about cursing or not cursing. You don't have to worry about us hearing it. You're all on mute. But I want you to have practice right here in saying the thing that you have been afraid to say. You want to write it down? What would it feel like to say this without an apology afterwards? Let me know in some ways, even if it's to raise your hand on the screen, if you've done this. And if you haven't, I want to give you the time. Well, a lot of you are not on the screen. I can't even see. Yeah. What would you like to say that you don't need to apologize for? The reason I'm asking you to do this for women, I'm not going to say not for men. I can't tell you because I'm not in your experience, but I will say the men I've coached and counseled also struggle with this. They don't want to get it wrong, or they don't know what to say, so they don't say anything. Women go through the same thing. So what do all of us want to say? Yolanda writes down, it's freeing. Yes. But this is your practice. This is one of the things that we get to practice through journaling, through talking to a friend, to talking to ourselves, to utter the words, I've had enough. No, I'm not going to give. Shonda said, I have a narcissistic parent and I recently told him how I feel for the first time. Whoa. They don't tend to go, thank you at all, from what I know. So, wow. Hal said, afraid to make a mistake. So, right, we hold back. We don't want to fear rejection. We fear abandonment. We fear getting it wrong, right? These are the things that keep us from expression. That is a key point of healing. He doesn't speak to me now. Exactly. No narcissist wants truth, by the way. That is their kryptonite. And give it time because they're going to twist it around and probably make it your fault, by the way, too. I just did that with my avoidant partner. It's freeing and empowering. Good for you. All right. Love it. Dawn, my gosh. I've known Dawn for a really long time. She's an inspiring woman. When I met her, she was a CFO of a nonprofit for children, and we would coach. And she was in her office, and her office wall, when we counted them, had 56 certificates and credentials. I was like, what the heck is that? That, for her, was like her saying, like, I'm competent now. She still had to achieve to prove she deserved a place at the table in her company that she was a CFO for, but also in her marriage. When I met her, she was so over functioning. She paid every bill for her and her husband. They lived in Long Island. She paid everything except for their cell phone. Cooked all their meals, did all their shopping, did their social life. The over functioning was outrageous. And the return was small, if any, and it was very inconsistent. So for her, she was always in a questioning and blaming herself, highly anxious. But Dawn actually died once because of autoimmune disease, that she started to attack herself. She would come to sessions with hands that were scraped and bleeding from dry skin and bulging eyes. And it was like watching a woman die from the inside. It was a journey over the 3 years that we worked together to get to the place where she could find safety within herself, change her standards, not pay for all the bills. And it wasn't about the money. It was about the worth. It was about the standard. She no longer was going to buy into a pattern that she had to earn her place in her own marriage. It wasn't her husband that put that on her. That is a childhood pattern. She raised her family. She raised her brothers and her sister because her parents were both alcoholics. They weren't there. So she always had to be the good girl, right? I will just tell you this now. She's no longer a CFO, but she went back to her original passion. And original passion lied in creative arts. She's a well-known photographer now. And I just love her. We've known each other for many, many years. I've taken leadership programs together. This is that place of attachment. And we often confuse attachment with love. And it's not. Attachment is a pattern. It's a pattern that gets biologically based in our survival in our childhood. It is the relationship between our caregiver, our primary caregiver, and ourselves. And the trust that I can have with that caregiver to give me my needs. This is in infancy. This has been studied when we have children who get a bottle, who don't get a bottle, who get facial expressions or no facial expressions from their parent or caregiver. It sets up a relationship of how to be with another person. So let's do this for a moment. Let's put our feet on the ground wherever you are. Place your hands on your thighs. And we're going to do a few inhales and exhales. So I'm going to do the 4 breath. So you'll hear me count 4. We'll hold for 4. We'll exhale. So I'm going to inhale. We're going to do this 3 times. We're going to inhale for 4. 1. Hold it for 4. Exhale for 4. Wait for 4. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Wait for 4. Inhale for 4. Hold it. Exhale for 4. Arrive here. I'm going to ask you to repeat a few things to yourself. Again, you can say them out loud. We're not going to know. Say them to yourself quietly. I am safe in my body. I can stay here. I am safe in my body. I can stay here with myself. I am safe in my body. I can stay here with myself. More that we stay with ourselves, this is where security and safety take root. As you're saying these things to yourself, just want you to start to scan your body. Safe in my body, I can stay here with myself. Keep breathing. Where do I feel more open or safe? Maybe I don't. Or I don't feel safety. Safe in my body, I can stay here with myself. You have a sense of safety in yourself. For me, it's here in my chest. It's the soft pressure hard. When I'm in my safety, my shoulders are squared. When I'm not safe, I cower. It's what I notice about me. What do you notice about you? Again, if anyone wants to share, they come on the screen. Happy to talk about it. What are you noticing? Because safety is an energy inside of you. This is not that someone else is going to create it for you. It's something we get to nurture. Because I guarantee if I asked everyone, do you know what it feels like when you don't feel safe? And usually everyone goes, oh yeah, I know what it feels like not to feel safe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tense, I get this, everyone has different sensations. Be with that. We get to nurture the flame of safety. Want to quickly just go over this, right? What's my attachment style and how I'll ask you to prepare the poll and the quiz link, right? Secure, it's a continuum, attachment styles. Secure at one end, disorganized at the other, right? Secure is, right, there was consistency. We had attunement. We had reciprocity, give and take. I had a need. I cried. My parent came to me, my caregiver. Anxious is when our caregivers are not consistent. I cry and sometimes they come, sometimes they don't come. I say I have a need and sometimes they'll take care of it and sometimes they won't. The avoidant, we had caregivers who were really emotionally not available. They were so not attuned to my hurts, to my pains, right? The disorganized is kind of a combination of both. These were caregivers that were not just inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, they also created fear and terror in us. They were unsafe. That was the experience that we had in our body too. We all have one. This is not a life sentence, right? Hal, if you could put up the poll, these are not life sentences. These are just giving you information on how you relate to the intimacy of having your needs met. Right? So there's a poll. What is yours? You anxious, avoidant, disorganized, secure, or I'm not sure. And that's possible. Right? We hear social media also talk about these a lot. Again, it's information because if I'm a recovering avoidant, right? When I was under stress, I bolted in the relationship. I was the one who pulled away, numbed out, hence 380 pounds. Right? That's not a bad and wrong. It was the way that I had to cope with parents that weren't there. They weren't there. The parents were in a crappy divorce and then they both got remarried and that created a whole nother dynamic. I was the youngest of 7. So there wasn't that emotional attunement there for them. It's information that I had to heal so that I can relate differently. Does it come up when I'm under stress or default? Yes, but I have ways of communicating that now. It's not I just take off. It's like, wow, I'm really feeling overwhelmed. I need space right now. Okay. Just give everybody an opportunity to see what you may have as yours. Yeah, we often do see avoidance. There's a lot of information out there about avoidance. Right? A lot of people be like, I attract another avoidant. I always get the anxious one. Right? There is a complementarity here. 95% of the time in couples, one is an avoidant and one is anxious. We call it the push and pull dynamic. Hal, if you could put up the quiz, the link to the free quiz. If you don't know what your attachment style is, you could feel free to take that and you can learn. It's only a few questions. So that idea of, can I communicate it differently as I heal? Right? It doesn't mean a bad thing, the avoidance, because there's a wound in the avoidant and a wound in the anxious, that push and pull. They mirror each other. One's fear is abandonment and the other one's fear is rejection. And so everyone's in that energy of how do I protect myself, right? Because we're wired for protection. That's where we're going with that. The last one I want to just test you with right now or give you an opportunity to really be with is trigger to trusting. Remember, I used this example earlier about my arm. Always going to be there. My initial wound from my parents is there. I've had many other ones, but there's some real core ones that are there for me. And they're going to come up. So just be where we can we be with that when I get wounded, when we get triggered, activated. So recently, just think of a time you got triggered recently. Anybody, anything. If you want you want to come on camera and talk about it, we're here. I want you to just think about recently a time that you felt triggered. Could have been today. I'm trying to think of my day. I haven't felt triggered today, so I have to be honest. This has not been last night. Okay, so just close your eyes for a moment. I want you to relive that moment you got triggered. What's the question? What was I trying to protect in that moment? What was I trying to protect in that moment? Anyone wants to come and talk about it? I'll give an example. I am a retreat owner, as I said, and they're friends of mine. And I was in here doing some work. I had no idea that we had about 20 people in our living room, which we call the church here at the retreat center, having cacao ceremonies and tea ceremonies. Now, I happen to be a real tea person, and I really love sitting with that. And I got triggered. And what that trigger was really protecting was I didn't feel like I belonged. I felt left out. And that's old in me. When you're the youngest of seven, there's a lot of not belonging energy for me. It's an old wound, and it was a current experience. They didn't do it to me on purpose. They knew I was working. They didn't know that I chose to stay and work longer. That trigger is telling us there's a wound somewhere. And so our reaction is to the present moment, but it's also energized by the past moment. Does that make sense to people? Yeah, I got hurt here now. Right? It was like not intentionally last night, by the way, because it represented a wound in my past. Now, sometimes it could be very much intentional. Somebody could say something that is very harming. And so I have to talk to you about, hey, you just hit me and that hurt right? But it's because that hurt is so old, my arm. When we recognize what we were protecting, we really want to thank that part of ourselves. Because that's what protection's doing. It is trying to hold us back from harm. So we go outward with it. We get triggered, get reactive, or we get quiet, pull in. Right? Trust begins when we start to know that those protective parts are actually doing good for us. They're not trying to harm us. The trigger is trying to tell you there's danger and there's a place to heal here. Yeah. Again, anybody have a question? I see Kathy wrote, being repressed growing up, I was raised, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all. So generally I didn't speak up. So there's a lot of repression in here for you. That wound's going to come up sometimes, I guarantee, right, Kathy? In relationships, if you need to express a need, a dislike, preference, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. We joke about that between husbands and wives and partners, but it's actually like, who's willing to put out their need over someone else's? So we quiet down, like, no, whatever you want, hon, whatever you want. No, I want pizza. Let's go for pizza. Saying what we need. It doesn't mean we're going to get it that night. If they're like, I had pizza for lunch. Okay, but we're not holding back. So for you, Kathy, I wish you much. Alex. I was just on Alex's. Alex is a man I know since he was 15 years old. His family's in China. He lived in America on his own in a house when he was 15. And my first cousins moved in with him. And that's how I got to know him. And the man I knew then, or the boy I knew then, who then opened a restaurant in Newark, New Jersey by Rutgers, they really tried to revitalize it and they put in these really nice houses. It didn't work. He was smart enough to buy one of those houses for like $200,000. And then I started to coach him and he was like, our restaurant's not doing that great. I'm working my butt off, but my house, and finally coached him into letting go of his house. And he made almost $400,000 on that house. And it started an empire. He's got a portfolio over $12 million, multifamily investor. He's got success, but what he had back then was not a lot of trust in his ideas. He was unfocused, some doubts, over giving, overextending. He was exhausted. He often didn't bring his partner, his wife now, into the decision making. He did it right. He's the man, he's the provider, but he wasn't a provider that trusted himself. So that's actually not a very healthy masculine. He hadn't arrived at that within himself yet. So there wasn't confidence in him. And then he withheld information. So this place, but he didn't want to show up in a way that looked weak, right? He came from a family of wealth in China that lost everything. His father lost everything before he died. So he had this fear script too going. It wasn't working in his business and it wasn't working in his marriage. Through the coaching, it was getting him aligned to a vision, getting aligned to what he really wanted. What he wanted was for housing for everybody and to educate people that you can actually buy houses without using money. He had that vision almost 15 years when he was in college at Rutgers, Newark, but he wasn't landing on it. He now has a real estate company called Legends. He actually goes around the country doing transformative trainings to have people break through their self-limiting beliefs. He runs 3 calls a week about investments, commercial investments, multi-planning, what do you call it? Multi-housing units. He's a very different person now than he used to be. He trusts his ideas. He's a creative machine. And from that place, he just comes out with ideas. Like his latest one, if you're a pickleball player, he actually created a pickleball app for dating and pickleball games. And it's brilliant when you think about where pickleball is in our world right now. So it created a community for pickleball, a way to date, a way to find friends and community. Everything that we're seeking. Great guy. Why does it feel so hard for so many of us? Right? Because we talked about this. Women, our survival patterns are more on abandonment, performance, and perfectionism. I've got to do for love. I've got to lose some of myself for love. And for men, it's a little different. Men, there is this hyper independence. They're supposed to know it. They're supposed to have I've got to be strong. I've got to provide. I have to do that through achievement at the cost of emotional suppression. And we've done that to them also. Society, as much as they've groomed women to be perfectionistic and overgivers, these dynamics of codependence, both in men and women, are started way before we were born. For men, the double-edged sword is we need them to be strong. Don't show your tears. And now the trend is, well, where's your vulnerability? Like, what? They thought they've been doing it right all the time. Not showing the weakness, not showing anxiety, not showing fear. And now women are like, no, I want more. I want the authenticity. I want that, right? There's got to be safety for men as much as there is for women in relationships. And that is really one of the reasons I believe it's so hard. But the compelling future, is it possible to stop abandoning yourself? If anything, I would hope that you believe that it is, right? That you believe it's possible to stop abandoning yourself. If you do, I'd ask you to put a 1 in the chat right now. Did you see some parts tonight in this presentation that you go, yeah, I could see there's a path. There's places to heal. There's places that I can shift that I get to have some say so on. Thank you, Brandy, Hope, Janita, Hal. Yeah, that's our journey. So we can do this. or we can keep listening. And I'm a book. People know me. I have 2 to 3 books going. We can choose our compelling future and do that work. We can keep listening to books, podcasts, social media scrolling, go to more webinars. This is what I have found in my experience professionally is we learn something in these workshops and that podcast. We're going to apply it, but we don't apply it all the time the right way. And then we judge ourselves again. So the very pattern we're trying to break ends up getting strengthened because we think we didn't get it right. I didn't do it often. I dropped off. I only did it for a little while after listening to Claudine, right? What that does, though, when we don't commit or have a place that you keep coming back to a friend, to a therapist, to a coach, to a community, is that often it becomes the evidence that, I'm just not built for love. I just keep getting it wrong. So I really hope that you don't do that. If you want to deepen the work and have that breakthrough, I do have a program called Alchemy of Love. It's a transformational coaching program. It is a place where we work on a lot of what you heard tonight, but over 12 weeks, right? So we're going to talk about the trust in ourselves. We're going to figure out and how to nurture the flame of safety in this body, how to have our voice heard, with intimacy. It's not going to have us shrink and get worried because you can both generate safety together, right? You can receive from wholeness, not from scarcity, not from lack, not from not good enough. Action knows I've heard that. I've lived that line a long time. Let's say the other part. Yeah, you get the coaching with me in a group. Great. But you get community. And that, I have to tell you, when we have faces, it's really why I always encourage people to come off their cameras. When we're seen and witnessed, that's powerful. That's part of the transformation. When we recognize we're not alone in this journey, that's priceless. I will tell you that's priceless. Getting in the hot seat, having tools, all of those, part of the class. And I threw in a lot of other things, which is one-on-one calls with me, because I think setting an intention is important and having integration, having some assessments so you can understand where you are, getting some of the recordings, right? So meditations or how to meet your future self, because I think that's actually really important. And for those who want, I am in South Carolina, and I'm always happy to have a breathwork session. Hal here tonight is one of my breathwork buddies. We're in the same community. Right? His breathwork is a powerful mechanism, but it's the inclusivity of all of the elements that really makes this worthwhile. Right? But I will tell you, people are hesitant to always join. God, I don't know. There's a cost. I could tell you in my 58 years, there was a cost until I was willing to go deeper and look at my traumas, look at the patterns. Where was I? I'm a resentment machine, because being an overgiver that has to earn love, then I resent. That cycle is exhausting. It feels like quicksand I never got out of. But I know that people will say, I don't have the time. It's too expensive. I've done this before. And I'll say, yeah, haven't done it maybe in a community. We haven't done it again. And maybe it's time to do that, to be in a group that can see you. Whoever's ready. If you want to even just go take a look at it, there's a lot of features here. And I did that on purpose. I did it on purpose because I recognize we get to have a menu when we're healing. Because there's days I'm not in the mood to meditate. And there's days that I want to be in community. And there's days I don't want to be seen in a community. We get to have what we need. We're not here to overwhelm our nervous system. We're here to witness it and feed it and calm it so they can receive, and we can learn how to receive. We can learn to ask. Because when we're performing, we're not receiving. We're hoping for something, not getting what we want, though. And so if there's anyone who's interested, let's put it in there. Thank you, Hal. I really appreciate that you did that. I think it is a place to also have hard conversations. I want to be very honest with you. This is tender work. And we need the safety of a good container, right? Where we all know that we're willing to do this work together. So if there's anyone who's interested, I would really love to know that. If anyone wants to, you can even, right, go there. If you want to even have a phone call and say, I'd like to understand this more. I went to your website, but yeah, it's great. Right. Hal, if you could put even the link to have a call with me about the program, I think that's wonderful. Right? The more that we're in curiosity, if it's not with me, it's with someone else, but it's the commitment for the life that you deserve. What my coach often says, it's my birthright. It is your birthright to have a place of dignity where you are honored, seen, but it starts here so that I can have it here, right? It comes inside to have it on the outside. Now, I'm aware that some people tonight, they're going to choose this. Each class, people choose themselves and they go into one of my cohorts. For those who may not be ready for this commitment, I do have I would say a smaller class. This is a 3-hour class because I work with successful women who have mastered the business edge. They are consultants, they're entrepreneurs, they're C-suites or they're directors, and they know how to work project plan. They know how to execute the budget, right? They know control. They know decisiveness. They understand what it means to have a successful business. But those same traits do not generate intimacy and connection. They don't, right? They actually lead to more disconnection. They act to stress because when a woman is hyper functioning in that masculine energy and that decisiveness, come home, or nowadays you're not even, you walk outside your door and you're supposed to be like receptive, opened. We don't see that often, right? This is where ambition gets to meet intimacy, where the softening, we get to be rooted in our confidence, in our vulnerability, where we can see vulnerability is actually a strength, not a weakness, because in our business life, we go, oh no, we don't want it there. But this is the complementing. So I really want to say, if you don't feel like you're ready to join something like the Alchemy of Love, which is a really big commitment, 12 weeks, I don't want to leave you empty handed tonight. Really, this is a very special, focused 3-hour immersion experience with me that everyone's off camera or on camera, I should say. I'm sorry. Right? That it's experiential, that we really get to go over practices that let us lead from our hearts, and recognizing our leadership skills can be both in the boardroom and in the bedroom. Because we're not going to have sexual intimacy either if we're commanding our partners. We're only going to have it when we can meet them in that space. So if it's something you're interested in, it's a half-day class. I have one coming up in December. It's about a month away. I really encourage you to check it out. See if this is the place to start looking at, recognize I get to soften to be this. To soften, we have to have safety, though. Just understand that. To receive means like, I know it's okay for me. It is a different way to lead, to be a sovereign woman, to not go to bed with a checklist and a strategy, but with a desire, with a want. That's what this is really about. Yeah. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We could have been anywhere and you chose to come here tonight. I still want to say to anyone, if you want to raise your hand, you want to chat for a moment, you want to process something, because there is a small group here tonight. You can be witnessed. And I also understand that you may not, because like, it's too small, Claudine. I don't want to do that. I get that. It's cool. I'll just let that, you can, connect with me. We do have a Conscious Connective Facebook group. I am on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media platforms. This is not a one and done conversation. I hope that you will give yourself permission to continue it for yourself and wherever you are in life. Keep seeking and searching. If you want to talk about it, come on the mic. If not, I want to thank you. Thank you for the hour and 15 minutes that you gave of your life to be here, because there's something you want to experience differently. There's a pattern. And I want you to recognize when we spoke to your inner child and you felt that motion, that's the change in our patterns, because we stopped neglecting. We felt safety. That's a moment where we paused. So that is at hand when we practice those skills over time. There is a new experience. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being here tonight. And I wish you well and happy holidays for all of you, whatever your holiday plans are. Good night.